Guys, what it is your girl Cadillac. I am Cadillac Dixon. I am the drama like prison wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice, hoping to see justice before all fades to black. Yeah, his your girl Cadillac. And I'm also the OG prison wife. Been a prison wife for the last 20 plus years, girl. Okay, so yesterday I did my story time about why your old ass. Uh, yes, you're interrupting, but okay.
Could you take me to PetSmart by any chance?
Look, you're trying to catch me off guard. Guys, anyway, today's story time is going to be stemming off of yesterday's story time. It is hot. I don't know how long we're going to survive up in this car. It feels like I am doing the hot box challenge. Well, not the hot box challenge. I'm sorry. It is not called that. It is called the Beat the Heat challenge. I'll link that in the description box. And basically is like a simulator of how hot it is in a Florida DOC cell. They have no air conditioning. So when we are hot, we know that our loved ones in prison are times hotter. So when I get hot, I start feeling sad because I think about how Marcello is in that heat. Anyways, it's hot, but I don't know if my phone will overheat or what. So anyways, let's get into this story. It's stemming off of yesterday. I wanted to tell you that story of being ridden up the last time at that super center that broke the camel's back. Yes, that got me up out of that place. Okay, so at that time, it was 2013. Really, I had just finally... Was it 2013? When did I... Okay, I noticed I was going blind in 2003, basically, when I was in hair school. And they gave us a book. First, you had to learn all your, written material. And I noticed that I couldn't read the book quite right. All the words looked like they were kind of scrambling and moving around, which was crazy. Okay, so in 2011, which I was going to tell a story time about that, how I lost my license due to my eyesight or whatever. I think that's when I first got contacts. So around 2013, I had just started wearing my hard contacts that I wear now. Okay, so I still couldn't see, like my vision is 20x. X meaning ain't no vision coming through that stuff. It's watercolors, girl. And then in the other eye, I had 2200 at the time. I don't know if it's any better now, but I had 2200 and 20x in the other eye. Okay, so with my contact, it made my vision to the point where it was 20. They could get me up to 2040 or in 2200 in the other eye that had X. That one became 2200 and the other one became 2040. So needless to say, I have vision, but I couldn't see like excellent. Like I didn't have that 20/20 vision like some people do, and like I did when I first came to the super center. So at that point, it was becoming to where that has to be a whole separate story time about when I was blind and didn't have no contacts. It was still able to cashier. That was crazy. Okay, so I couldn't see the best, the best. It came to the point where it used to be where there was a worker in every single department. Domestics had their own one or two workers. The housewares had one or two workers because these were big sections. Sorry, y'all. Electronics had several workers. Sporting goods had a worker. Automotive had a worker. There were workers all over the place. Cashiers, there were several cashiers all across the front lined up. When they weren't, busy checking out people, they would actually be sorting stuff at the customer service. You had two door greeters. One door would close early, but they still had a door greeter stand down there, and then they had another door greeter at the busy door. So you had a lot of associates. This is when they started cutting back, and they started giving everybody basically 2 and 3, they had introduced something that was like a task manager, where you had to scan in, it gives you a task and it times you, and by a certain time you better be done with that task or come on in the room, we finna get written up, girl, that type of stuff. Okay, so it would be no longer 2 and 3 people in each department. It would be one person, hurry, do this department, scan your badge, get your butt to the next department. That's how it started being. And there was fewer and fewer associates. That place took a lot of people to keep together. And now they're trying to run on what you would call a skeleton crew. I mean, bare bones associates, so that they could get the work done. But it wasn't in the quality that it should have been. Okay, so along the front, they got rid of a lot of cashiers, and they also felt like they could get rid of the door greeter. Okay, so they no longer wanted to have a door greeter and a cashier. What they would do is have just the one cashier, and they would put that one cashier by the door and said, now you can watch the door and you can cashier. Baby, I'm legally blind. I can't see that far like that. Like, I can see, but it's just movements. Like, I cannot tell, like, exactly what you're doing over there. Like, so it was one night. I'm trying my best on the register. I'm on the last one. I'm ringing people out and all kinds of stuff. And then I'm also trying to, when people are coming into the door, I'm trying to greet them. Hey guys, welcome to blah, blah, blah. Okay. So they want me to do both, right? So finally, these two come into my line, right? It's a man and it's a lady. Okay, so the woman is going, I think the man goes through the line first. Then he stands off to the side. Then a woman comes through the line. She has a bin. And the thing is, they started at that point, people would load up these bins and then buy the bin and basically have all the stuff inside the bin free. This was a tactic that people were, like, they were getting inventive in their ways to steal stuff. Like, let me pause right here and tell you one time, oh my goodness, when I was working as a door greeter at first, when I first started that job, it would be TVs. I was at the door one time, and I have to ask for the person's receipt as they're leaving. Anything that is not in a bag, I need to ask for a receipt, right? And so as I'm asking for a receipt, this person has, because it was basically a straight shot from the electronics area to the front door. So they would get the item, the TV, put it in a buggy, and instead of going to the to check out, they would go straight to the front door and act as though, they paid for it. Okay, so I asked the man, it was a man and woman coming this time again, and I asked for the receipt, because clearly you have this TV out of box. Not out the box, out the bag. So I have to ask for your receipt. He gets in close to me and he's like, she don't need no receipt, and runs out the freaking front door. I'm like, what? And all of a sudden, 3 or 4 other people with buggies run right behind him. They run out the front door. We weren't allowed to chase them. By the time we got the manager to come and chase them, it was too late. They had cars lined up in the front. They all loaded them TVs and they were gone. They had several flat screens. And so that was I don't know. It was, I guess our job was to detour, but we were also limited in what we can do, right? So now I'm not even right by the register. By the door. I'm by the register, okay? So again, the man goes first. He checks out in my line. Okay, and he kind of stands to the side. So I'm like, okay, well, I keep going with my line, and I check out the woman, right? So she has a bin, and I guess it's full of stuff or whatever. And as I'm getting ready to check out, she runs out the door. So I'm like, okay. So I guess he was supposed to be the distractor as she was running. That's what I guess was supposed to be happening. So I get on the phone and I call. I'm like, I forgot whatever codes you had to call, meaning somebody is up here stealing good. But I can't remember that stuff. It's been too long ago. So I get on the walkie-talkie and I'm calling that I need somebody up there. Somebody just ran out the door. They're trying to steal. Okay. So they chased them and I think the person got away, right? Okay. They got away. I go back to ringing all my people on the register, blah, 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 blah. All right. Later in the night, I think it was after lunch. They're like, Keita, you need to come on in the room. And I'm like, come in the room? For what? What we got? When you going into a certain room, into a certain office, you already know it's a problem. Why am I going into the room? Like, excuse me, sir. There was this one manager. I guess she would be about the age I am now, but a homegirl, I guess, some people keep themselves really nice. She kept herself looking really good. A lot of the young guys was interested in her, and basically it looked like that was her point in coming to work, to look cute, to entice the little guys that be, working there and this and that. And that was basically her only focus, except for getting everybody written up. There would be so many instances where you would be fine, but she would go back and look through records, look through attendance, and find any and everything to fire you. Just like I was almost fired for going to my sister's brain surgery. They were trying to fire me because I went with my sister for her brain surgery. Like, this is how crazy this company was. They didn't care nothing about family. They didn't even care if your ass was in the hospital. You didn't come to work. Like, for real. So this person, let's give her a name. I can't give her real name, so let me think of a name. Okay, so I can't say her real name, so for the purpose of this video, we gonna call her Miss Karen, because she was acting like a Karen, like, for real. We gonna call her that. But she was black. It was another black young woman. So she would go looking through people's files to find any discrepancies to try to write you up. Like anything that might have got caught. No, baby. She was finna find it in between flirting with the little young guys. She was finna find the discrepancies. Okay. So after lunch, she's like, come on in the room, come in the room. And I'm like, why am I coming up in the room, girl? So she's like, as you know, we had people coming and they ran out with merchandise. And I'm like, yeah, I seen that. I was ringing up the guy. I was ringing up the girl, and then the guy was kind of standing there, and then all of a sudden they just ran out. And she's like, yeah. But what was in the bin? And I'm like, I don't know. I didn't get to that point. I tried to scan the bin and they just ran. And she was like, you tried to scan the bin. Did you walk around and take their buggy? Did you try to take their buggy from? I'm like, I'm not gonna take no buggy from nobody. She's like, yeah, so they got out this store with a bin full of merchandise and we don't even know what they had. They could have had anything in the store and you let them go with it. I'm like, what? Huh? I let them go? Girl, I'm on the register and I'm watching the door as best as like Nicki Minaj as I can, like for real. So she's like, well, I'm sorry, unfortunately, because you didn't do all that you could do. I said, I got on the thing and I called that I need a manager. It looks like people are trying to steal. And she said, yeah, but the way you called, it was so soft, like it wasn't no urgency in it. So we just didn't come up there. I'm like, okay, hold on now. I called you and you didn't respond because I didn't have no urgency in it. Am I supposed to alarm everybody that's around me? Like I called and you chose not to respond. And so everything was just getting thrown back on me. It was clearly my fault, what she was saying. So she's like, so here's the write-up. I'm going to write you up and blah, 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 blah. Now, I had already got written up because of my hair color, which that's a whole nother issue. I don't think they go through that issue now because I go into Walmarts and I see every color of the rainbow in people's hairs. But back then, I was getting written up for my hair color. Yes. Okay, so I had already had a write-up for that. I don't know what the other write-up was. So this was going to be my last write-up that finally gets me fired. Meanwhile, I had no write-ups until I slipped and fell in a store. Now I got all these write-ups. So she's like, we're going to have to write you up because the simple fact we don't know how much merchandise got out that store. Yes, girl, she was rolling that neck like that. And it is your fault, girl. And I'm like, my fault? How that's my fault? So let me tell you, I refused to. I said, and I wrote a statement. And then she was like, well, what could you have done then that would have made, what could you have done better to make sure this doesn't happen again? I said, well, clearly I have to assume that they were together, because if I didn't know they were together, I wouldn't have knew that this was a setup. So I got to clearly assume that certain people are coming in together, even though they're coming in separately or they're ringing out, separately. I have to assume they're together. So I got to make assumptions if I'm going to foresee this happening again. You know what I'm saying? If, because it was my fault, I need to assume. I should have assumed that the man and the woman were together and I wouldn't have got played like that. Okay. So I wrote that, and then I said, I do not take responsibility of this. I tried to do everything I could. I called management. Management did not respond, and I did everything that I should have done, and I refused it, and I signed it and everything. Okay, so do you freaking know? When I did get fired or / quit, whatever, right after that, I found out later that and when I tell you all the higher managers had got fired. And do you know what a lot of them got fired for? Sending folks in to take merchandise. That day that I didn't take that write-up, that was a setup. But the setup came from, y'all guess it. Karen set that up. And I was supposed to take the fall so it wouldn't reflect back towards the Karen, manager Karen. So anyways, guys, that is the straw. That was the last write-up. And what ended up happening, I was supposed to come. So they were about to fire me. That was the third write-up. I was going to be gone. And that's when I found that money center thing. So I didn't get to give my goodbye speech because I always thought about throwing that vest at them. Like that little rap I just said. Man, get your vest. Can't take your stress. Man, take your badge back. I wrote that with that had heart in it. I couldn't wait to tell them folks that, but I didn't get to give them a speech because I just didn't come back. I didn't show up. I did no calls, no shows, and just didn't show back up because at that point I already knew what it was. So anyways, that was the story time. And I got another story time, I ain't gonna put it here, but about that second to the last write-up about my hair color. Like that basically was discrimination. Yes. All right, guys. So it's about to rain. I'm finna get my walk on, and then we're gonna get to the another low flying freaking. How do they fly that low like that? All right, guys. Anyway, it's your girl Cadillac.